Bonjour and welcome back to my channel, Claude here. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Squid Cake Marseille Tarot by Jess Rollar. Now I'm very excited because, well, if you've seen any of my reviews or if you've watched my readings, you'll know that I am a big fan of the Tarot de Marseille decks and pip decks anyway. And this is not very often that we get a new, fresh, fun take on a Tarot de Marseille. We have a lot of many reiterations of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but not of the Tarot de Marseille. So this is kind of really cool. Now, as always, it's all time-stamped. So if you do not want to see the booklet, the box, just want to see the cards, then just jump ahead to the right timestamp. Otherwise, just make yourself comfortable and let's begin. So this is a smaller deck. As you can tell, I've got average size hands, so you can see already this is kind of smaller. If you want to see the difference with a standard box, sorry, I'm not holding them well, you can see already it's much shorter, but I will get in detail with about that with the cards. And this is published by a rock pool, and it shows you here US dollars 19.95 and UK was just under £15. The box is obviously sturdy, two-part with, you can push it and look at that, look how pretty that is when you open it. So that's how it looks like. Very nice little box. And here's the back. So it reads, bring a little lightheartedness to your readings while dishing out the cold hard truth with a side of humour. Filled with snails, snakes, fly traps and octopuses, this deck is a modern and colourful twist on the traditional Tarot de Marseille. The Squid Cake Marseille Tarot is a 78 card deck in which you'll discover knights riding creatures, quirky faces and a delicious colour palette. So when you open the box, this is what you get. That's the inside, very pretty. Let me empty the box so you can see the bottom of it, because there's a little message here and it says, I don't know if you can see it, engage your creativity and be inspired to think outside the box. So that's how the box looks like. Very nice, very practical. You can already see that it's going to be, you know, pastel tones, but we'll get into that when I delve into the cards. So let's talk about the guidebook. So you get this beautiful, cute little guidebook. That's the spine, and there's the back, which is also the card back, actually. And you can see it's coloured. So although it's small, it packs a punch. It's really well presented. I really like Rockpool, but you know, that's a personal take on it. So when you open it, you've got your title here. And then your table of contents. So this is published in 2023. A note on this, I did some research on this deck and it was available 2 years ago or so, independently. But it was slightly different. It was the same concept but slightly different, and I will explain all of this when I go through the cards so you understand. So we've got introduction, how to use the cards, card spreads, major arcana, minor arcana, and obviously with the 4 suits. Acknowledgements and about the author. So in the introduction, she opens up with everything is a sign, a quote from Yoav Bendov, obviously a big heavy hitter when it comes to the Tarot de Marseille. And, you know, she explains a tiny bit of history, you know, just that it originated in northern Italy in the 15th century, was very popular in the 17th and 18th centuries. And, you know, that there are many iterations of the Rider-Waite and not so much of the Marseille deck. And she explains, you know, how she came up with the title, which, you know, is to inject just a little bit of humor and lightheartedness. That tarot doesn't have to be too serious all the time. She's also aimed to, so for instance, I'll give you an example, the Chariot is pulled by 2 snails, yeah? The Hierophant is giving advice to 2 pink birds rather than people. That's what she's explaining to you, you know, how she's injecting that little element of fun. And her goal was to inspire us to engage our creative gears and think outside the box, which is what she said in the actual box, which is kind of funny. You know, I chuckled. She does give you a lot of advice on how to use the cards. So this is really beginner friendly, but also if you've always read with the Rider-Waite-Smith and you want to give a try to the Tarot de Marseille decks, but you're a bit daunted because, you know, it's got pips, doesn't have images, she does explain to you a little bit how to gain meanings even through the images on the pips, on the actual pips, like tiny details that you may not think are relevant but actually are. So there is quite a bit here what she explains. All of that. I reviewed a book by Kathleen Matthews called Untold Tarot, which explains to you in great depth how to read all the tarot decks, like the Tarot de Marseille, the Italian ones, anything that's pip. So I will leave you a link to this review in the description box below if you're interested in that, because it's a really, really good book for that. Then she explains that she has built her tarot deck on the Jean Noblet Tarot, because there are obviously different styles of Tarot de Marseille. You've got your Nicolas Convert, you know, the Vivial, and so on. I mean, there's loads of many different ones. Now, she's based hers on the Jean Noblet Tarot, and that was created around 1650. And there's only one copy, and it's kept in the National Library of France. That's just me telling you that, sorry. I just, you know, I'm a bit of a nerd. And it's interesting because the Jean Noblet Tarot actually was a smaller, unusually smaller size deck compared to the other decks that were created thereafter. And her deck is small. So I thought that was a really nice little nod there. And she said, you know, she tried to preserve the text just as it was written by Jean Noblet, to weave in the historic tradition. Which obviously is kind of cool, but she tried to keep it user-friendly, and for that reason she has titled the cards from 1 to 10, for instance, because normally you just, you know, have a number and you kind of see you've got 10 wands for 10 batons, for instance, but she's done that to help it. And she's also put the Fool as card at the end of the Major Arcana 22, because with Marseille it's always at the end, not at the beginning. So then she explains the Major Arcana, the Minor Arcana. She gives you the numerology, the 1 to 10, you know, so for instance 3 is growth, 7 is conflict and challenges. She also gives you keywords for the suits. So for instance the batons or the wands represent work and building in the Marseille tradition. Cups, emotions, relationships. Swords is conflict and cutting, and coins is money and physical matters. And then a little bit on the court cards. And she talks about the card spreads and explains to you how to ask a good question, how to do a morning spreads. She recommends using 2 to 3 card spreads rather than 1, because she says you can get more information. I totally agree. She talks about looking at the way each court card is facing, what are they pointing at. Again, that book Untold Tarot goes in depth about these things. That's very important when you read a Tarot de Marseille. And then she talks about the open reading, when you just put the cards and you let it flow. Again, it's very well explained, it's really nice. And then we move on to the Major Arcana. So I'm going to show you, you get a double page, so you've got the card with the color, and I really like the fact that she's put a keywords, a box with keywords and functions. So for instance, the Magician, the keywords you have is trickster, calculating, cunning and innovative. Now, with the Tarot de Marseille, the emphasis is more on the trickster, whereas with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it's more on the being innovative and, you know, manifesting things. So it's really interesting. And function is tricks, and then you have the title, the Magician, with the French reference, Le Battleur. And then she's written a little paragraph, which she does say in the booklet is based mainly on her own interpretation, you know, the meanings that came to her through a lot of reading and a lot of work, basically. So you have this for every single major. And then we move on to the minors. So the majors have a, in the booklet, a pink background. They don't have colored backgrounds in the on the deck, don't worry about that. Then the minor arcana, which is more of that lovely pale turquoise. And there you go, Ace of Baton, similar the way it looks. You have keywords, but you do not have function because it's not a major arcana. And here you've got the meaning, but also visually. So she invites you to train yourself to look at them visually as well, because people have a tendency to not look at them visually, you know, when it's a pips. So for instance, for the two of batons, which would be your two of wands, for the visually, so obviously for the keywords, she says crossroads, blocked, options. So she says visually there is a prominent X, which you see there, in the center of this card, but there's also a lot of growth happening around the two batons, the flowers in the north and south with budding leaves to the east and west. Okay, so you can see the budding leaf east and west, north, south. The two batons is like a compass indicating you have potential no matter which direction you take, you just need to figure out your best path. So I think she's done a very, very good job in making this more accessible for people. And I really like that. I'm a big fan of that because I think Tarot de Marseille and Pip decks get a very bad rep at being difficult to read, and I disagree. And you know, some people say, oh, it's not good for your intuition. I actually think it's better for the intuition because you are not swayed by pictures that are trying to lead you somewhere. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope you get my meaning here. So, you know, you've got all of it with obviously the court cards, blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the end, so you have an acknowledgement where she thanks her husband, her daughter, and her mom, and yeah, lovely. There's the lovely Jess Rollar. And about her, so she's an artist, a card reader, and a blog writer who lives in the White Mountains in Arizona. Now that must be very pretty over there. And she's a self-taught digital illustrator who also works with traditional art using ink pens and watercolor. And the Squid Cake Marseille Tarot is one of her most treasured creations. Her website is called coffeewiththefool.com. How cool is that? So if you want to check her out, that's the website. So that's the little guidebook. Really, really user-friendly. She's done a great job in that respect. So let me put it here and let's have a look at the cards. So there's the back of the cards. As I said to you, it was the same, I think, as the back of the booklet, if my memory serves. Yep. So you see, we've got the back. And it's beautiful because it's been edged in a matte pink. Now, I'm not a pink person per se, but I like pastel colors. And, you know, for the price of the deck, I think you get something that's really, really nice and well made. Now, you can already see, I mean, this is good quality. And because of the thickness of the deck, bearing in mind it is a small deck, it is actually quite nice. If you compare it to a standard deck, it's holding its own, and the cards are smaller. So you can see this, much smaller. So I'm going to grab one. They're matte, or matte with a little bit of satin maybe. Cardstock is very good, it comes back immediately, really like that. And if we compare it to the size of another standard tarot card, this is how it looks. So I hope you can see it, because my card is black and my mat is black, which is not helpful. But you can see you've got about 4 millimeters here, and that big chunk here. So for people with smaller hands, that's awesome. Yes. So, let me start with the deck. So I may need to do this because they're smaller. So we have the Magician. So you can see it's all, as I said at the beginning, it's going to be creatures, it's going to be, it's different, okay? People have got blue skin, pink skin, weird hair, patches on their clothes. So obviously it's very diverse, but at the same time it's just, it could be anybody, which I like. Now I will say this, when she did the deck initially, and it was available independently, she had the titles in French, and I wish she'd kept it that way. This is not a deal breaker for me because, you know, I have other decks that have the titles in English. For instance, my Pichichi Tarot has the title in English, you know, like Page of Cups, and it's not a deal breaker. But when I saw that initially it had the French words, I thought, oh God, I wish she'd kept it, but that's just me. So there's your Magician. You see, High Priestess, she's not called it even the Popess, she called it the High Priestess, which, you know, it should be La Papesse or Popess. But, you know, again, that's just, it's just a minor, and I just thought I will bring it up. The Empress, she's blue. The Emperor. But I like how it still retains, you know, the shield, the spectre. I really like that. The Hierophant. as I mentioned from the booklet, you know, giving advice to birds. The Lovers. Now again, she's called it the Lovers. Now in the Tarot de Marseille tradition, it is the lover. It's one man torn between two women. It's not the lovers. But again, it's just me nitpicking. It doesn't mean I don't like it. I really like this deck. I think it's super cute. The Chariot with the two snails. I also like that the charioteer has glasses on. Because my husband wears glasses and he always says, you know, just because I wear glasses doesn't mean I can't be a great warrior. He's joking, obviously, but yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool. Justice, and look, she's got cups, like literally a mug and a cup, which I thought was really nice. The Hermit. The Wheel of Fortune. Strength. Oh, I forgot to obviously remember that in the Tarot de Marseille, it's strength and justice are flipped, obviously. So we have strength at 11. I'm sorry, I forgot to, if you're not familiar with the Tarot de Marseille, that may have thrown you, and justice will be 8, because weight decided that obviously justice with the scales fitted Libra better, so he swap them round, and strength with the lion, fitted Leo better, so that's why it's number 8. So he kind of swapped them round, but originally justice was 8 and strength was 11. I don't pay attention to this because I'm so used to it, and then, you know, it hits me, so sorry about that. Okay, number 12, the Hangman, the Death card, Temperance. I mean, look at the little bat wings. The Devil, very fluffy one. The Tower, which would be la Maison Dieu in French. The Star. The Moon. You can see it's still, I think she's done a great job in the sense that it still retains the historical look-ish, but with elements that are just weird, with weird creatures like these, and the moon looks like the head of an astronaut. I mean, well, to me anyway. The Sun, Judgment, and the World. And I mean, look at this. It looks like it's out of the Fantastic Beasts. So then we have the Fool, which has been numbered. Normally in the Tarot de Marseille, there's no number. It's just the Fool, but that's fine. And instead of having a cat grabbing, because I know it's a dog in the Rider-Waite, but in the Tarot de Marseille, mostly it's a cat, from what we can see. You have some kind of tentacle grabbing him, which I thought was kind of cute. And then after that we move on to the batons, or your wands. So as explained, she said to make it user-friendly, she's actually written what it is from 1 to 10, which normally isn't written in the Tarot de Marseille. So you got your 2 of batons, the 3, the 4, and she does invite you with the leaflet. I really like that paragraph about the visually looking at, you know, the actual flourishings, because they mean something. The 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you can see 9 of Wands, you know, not necessarily an easy energy and not much flourishing going on there, and 10. So then you have your Page of Baton, the Knight of Batons riding a snail, the Queen of Baton on a very modern chair, and the King of Baton. Then we move on to the Ace of Cups, traditional looking cup, but obviously the colouring makes it more modern. The 2 of Cups, 3 of Cups, Four of Cups, 5, 6 of Cups, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And she's kept the positioning of the cups as you would have on Tarot de Marseille, with the 10th cup being bigger and sideways, but there is some liquid coming out of it. I don't know if you can see right there. And then we have your Page of Cups. I love that he's holding a big mug. The Knight of Cups, the Queen of Cups, and the King of Cups with his to-go coffee or tea or whatever. Place what you want in that cup. Ace of Swords, traditional again, but really nice with, you know, that looks more modern as well, the clothes. The Two of Swords, very easy to recognize the style. Three of Swords. These look like little strawberries on the side. Four of Swords. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you have your Page of Swords, which is female. Knight of Swords. Queen of Swords. I really like the positioning of the Queen. It really reminds me of what the Queen of Swords look like. And the King of Swords. And then finally we've got the coins. And again, it's very traditional, but with that little twist. Two of coins with the kind of S figure, you know, that sash thing. And generally speaking, it would have the creators and or the publishing house there written. Three of coins. Four of coins. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And finally, we have our court cards for the coins. So we have the Page of Coins, the Knight of Coins on some kind of big frog or toad, probably a toad. The Queen of Coins on a really nice armchair, you know, prosperity, abundance. And the King of Coins. So this is really cute. Now I have another small tarot deck which is called the Tarot Sirène, and it is about the same size as it, as you can tell. And so this one is a sea themed one, and I have reviewed it, so if you want to have a look at that, because if you've got small hands, that's another thing that you might want to consider. But this one has kept the name in French, so you can see this is the Emperor and it says l'Empereur. So if you want to check this out, because it's another Tarot de Marseille, sea themed, but same size, and I think they would work very nicely together. I have reviewed it and I will drop you a link in the description box below too. But when it comes to this deck, I think she has done a great job with it. I really like it, it's fun. I wish to see more iteration of the Tarot de Marseille done this way. I think the little booklet has a lot of information, particularly if you are new to using a Tarot de Marseille. And yeah, I mean, I'm not a pink person, but you know, it's all pastel and it's a good fun deck, but that also delivers good messages, as in it's not sugar coated. It may look pink, but you know, if there's a card that represents a struggle or something like that, she has given you the keywords, like I was mentioning for the Magician. She does have the meaning like trickster, cunning, so you know, to be aware that if we're talking about someone coming your way, it may not be the person that you want to trust, for instance. So yeah, I really like it, so let me know in the comment box below, what do you think of it? Do you have it? If so, let me know your experience with it. Do you want to get it? You know, just let me know. I love to talk tarot, so yeah. So I thank you for your time. As I always say, it's your most precious commodity. I am truly grateful you chose to spend it with me. And wherever you are in this world and whenever you're watching this, I wish you a truly magical day. Until next time, au revoir.